So we now know what was said during the post Democratic debate exchange between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And unless you've been not paying attention to political news, which I don't necessarily blame you, so they had the seventh Democratic debate Tuesday night. After the debate, Bernie Sanders goes up to Elizabeth Warren, outstretches his hand, tries to shake hers. She doesn't put hers out, and then they exchange some words. So, and then this was on CNN. This is a story by them, and it was a debate put on by CNN. And obviously, they held out this audio recording just to kind of keep this in the news cycle for, even longer. So here's the corresponding audio and video of what was said during Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren's post-debate exchange.
The simmering feud between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie boiled over.
I think you called me a liar on national TV. What? I think you called me a liar.
So she said, I think you called me a liar on national TV. He says, what? Then she repeats it again. I think you called me a liar on national TV to Bernie in reference to Bernie saying that he never said that a woman couldn't be president. Obviously, kind of very insidious message implying that Bernie's a sexist and didn't think that a woman could be president when he has for decades advocated women running for office and holding office, including the presidency. And again, he even encouraged Elizabeth Warren to run in 2015 for the 2016 campaign and election, and she decided not to, I think in part potentially because she thought she was going to get a cabinet position within a Clinton administration. That didn't happen, and she supported Clinton over Bernie Sanders, and by Sanders not running, Bernie had to jump in the race, and he said that Hillary Clinton won the 2016 election by getting 3 million more votes than Donald Trump. So I don't believe that. So here Warren is saying, did you call me a liar about that? Bernie says what? And then let's see what his next response is.
National TV?
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion? We'll have
Says not. Let's not do that right now. If you want to have that discussion, do it some other time. Warren says anytime.
Discussion. You called me. You told me.
You called me a liar. All right, let's not do it now.
Let's not do it now. I don't want to get in the middle. I just want to say hi.
And Tom Steyer was kind of caught in the middle there, saying, I don't want to get in the middle. I just want to say hi, Bernie, which is kind of cool. I mean, if I was on this debate stage with Bernie Sanders, I'd want to go up and say hi and shake his hand. But so let's just watch it one more time.
Sanders suddenly boiled over.
Commenting.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion? We'll have that discussion. You called me. You told me. All right, let's not do it now. I don't want to get in the middle. I just want to say hi, Bernie. Yeah, good. Okay.
I mean, this is wow. Wow. I thought Elizabeth Warren wanted to move on and didn't want to talk about this anymore, and obviously she's able to communicate with Bernie Sanders when they're not on a presidential debate stage where she knew they had microphones on. She knew that. Bernie knew that. She's a very intelligent person. She knew they would be recording that audio, and of course it would get reported on, and the public would have access, and the media would get access to what was said during that exchange. It feels like a media stunt almost by Warren and her campaign. It's like, I don't know. I just have a much easier time believing Bernie's version of the story in this case. Bernie's been super clear and consistent, both, with the political positions that he supported, as well as just his character and judgment and the things he's come out and supported in the past and supports now is just he has this very clear progressive track record and commitment to social justice, including fighting for things like for women's rights, rights for LGBTQ communities, for the working class, both here and abroad, fighting for ending the prison industrial complex. And not to say that he's perfect, but I just don't see Bernie saying something like a woman couldn't be president. I think, and what he has explained, he said during that talk he had with Elizabeth Warren in December of 2018 was that it's going to be difficult running for a woman candidate against Donald Trump, because what he and the Republicans would do would run very sexist and misogynist campaign and use those type of strategies to try to defeat a female candidate. That's not to say that a woman couldn't win and shouldn't run. It's just that those are some of the realities of the hurdles that they would be facing, unfortunately. And it would be a good thing if that wasn't true, that wasn't the case. But in the United States currently, those are some of the roadblocks a female candidate would have to kind of maneuver through to get to the presidency. But it'd be great to see a female, a woman president, if they were a populist progressive, who was just unwavering in their support for, these really important measures that the working people of the U.S. greatly needs, as well as supporting a more sane and rational foreign policy. But unfortunately, there isn't one of those currently running in the Democratic field. That's why I'm supporting Bernie Sanders, because he is the most progressive candidate, and like I stated before, he has this clear, consistent track record of advocating for things like Medicare for all, advocating for women. Clients, don't knock that over. For women getting into politics and running and holding office, and that's why I'm so passionate about getting him the Democratic nomination, is because he's the best chance that our country has for enacting these really important things that we need to just catch up with the rest of the developed world, like Medicare for all, so we're not having 500 plus thousand people each year going bankrupt because we don't have universal health care in this country, and the 30 to 45,000 people that die each year because they don't have health insurance. He's the only one that's going to fight to make those a much needed reality, and so that's why he has my support. And I, frankly, like I said, I just believe his version of the story much more than Warren's, and it seems like very interesting time that this stuff is getting leaked right now, just a few weeks before the first caucus in Iowa. It's also a coincidence that Elizabeth Warren is falling behind in a lot of the polls. Is it another coincidence that she's dropped in the polls once she started, once she released her healthcare plan that was this two-tiered weird way to get towards Medicare for all, but it's not your initial push. 3 years later, if you have that type of political capital, then we'll try to get Medicare for all. Bernie Sanders would fight for it from day one. So let's see what else they say in the CNN video.
Walked away without a handshake after intentionally trying to de-escalate the fight earlier in the debate.
Bernie is my friend, and I am not here to try to fight with Bernie.
But Warren wanted to make a point that a woman can win the presidency. It was one of the most memorable lines of the night.
Look at the men on this stage. Collectively, they have lost 10 elections. The only people on this stage who have won every single election that they've been in are the women.
They were sparring over a comment Warren says Sanders made during a private meeting in 2018 that a woman couldn't win the White House. Sanders strongly denied ever making such an assertion.
As a matter of fact, I didn't say it. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this because this is what Donald.
And again, this is only, I don't think this is going to help Warren at all. I actually don't really think it's going to hurt Bernie, especially in Iowa in particular. I think the voters there, and I've heard other people comment that they will be put off by these type of tactics that the Warren campaign is using right now to basically just character assassinate Bernie Sanders by calling him and labeling him as a sexist. Not in those exact terms, but that's obviously the picture one gets if if they're characterizing Bernie as saying that a woman couldn't become president. But I think she's doing it. Like I said, she's falling in the polls. She realizes her chance of becoming president is slipping away. But maybe she's eyeing a position in, let's say, a Biden administration, because he's still pretty high up in a lot of the polls. So maybe she's angling with him, like, hey, if I just totally, character assassinate Bernie Sanders for you, could I be guaranteed, let's say, a VP or, Secretary of Labor or something, something like that. So, I mean, that's one possibility. And, I think it's definitely not super unlikely that that kind of stuff is going on behind back doors. I just saw a tweet that her chief strategist also works with the Biden and Klobuchar campaign as well as the DNC, I believe. So I'm going to try and look up that tweet and do a video on that later, because that's just, super disturbing. But after kind of some more recent things we've seen from Warren and her campaign, it's not really that surprising that her chief strategist, works also with the DNC and the Biden and Klobuchar campaigns, unfortunately.
Trump, and maybe some of the media want. Anybody knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president.
Yes, that, again, like, it just seems, Clarence keeps messing with this, just so out of character for Bernie Sanders to go out there and say something like that during this meeting with Elizabeth Warren. And, there was even some talk among the Warren campaign and the Warren staffers that they were saying that Elizabeth Warren was claiming that she had embellished what she had claimed that Bernie said vis-a-vis that a woman couldn't be president. So, yeah, again, I just have a very hard time not believing Bernie Sanders in this situation.
To the United States.
In the moment, Warren disagreed, but waited more than an hour later until after the debate to accuse Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, just the timing of that. If she's trying to put this to bed and doesn't want to talk about it anymore, why would you, not shake his hand? And then did you go up to him? I think you just called me a liar. Like, she was mic'd up, he was mic'd up. She knew that. She knew it would get leaked, keeping it in the news cycle even longer. So it definitely, the more you really peel back the layers on this, it definitely seems like, a pretty concerted effort on the part of Warren's campaign to totally character assassinate Bernie Sanders. And like I said, there could be some political dealings going behind the scenes between the Warren campaign and the Biden campaign. And, because she's been tanking in the polls and like, well, if I can't be president, then, I would like, a position in Biden's administration.
Calling her a liar. Now, we reached out to the campaigns all day long and again tonight once we went through this audio, Anderson, and neither campaign wanted to give a comment on this.
So, which, is so interesting by Elizabeth Warren to go right after the debate, not shake his hand, and then, have this this heated exchange. She, again, like I said, she knew this audio would get leaked. People would be talking about it, and then no comment on it after. So it's like her and her campaign are trying to have it both ways. You said you wanted it to go away, but then you act in a way that keeps it in the news cycle longer. So there's a little bit of dissonance going on there.
Up with Senator Sanders on Capitol Hill today. He did not want to talk about this at all. One thing is clear: both sides were trying to de-escalate this feud.
But again, it's the Warren side and the Warren campaign who escalated this, who is keeping it in the news cycle, and who instigated it in the first place. It wasn't Sanders.
The debate stage, but it clearly did not work. Now as it's escalated once again, I'm told that they did not speak today, but they will be side by side in close proximity tomorrow at that Senate impeachment trial, Anderson.
And just explain how the audio, how we got this audio now.
Well, Anderson, we saw it play out, but we couldn't hear it play out. But my colleagues here at CNN spent the day looking through backup audio. It was not recorded from the primary audio system. It was a backup, separate system, and they found it.
Okay, so it was recorded on the backup audio system. Let's see. Yeah, so pretty interesting. I mean, that's, again, it's just very, again, I recognize my bias. I'm a Bernie supporter through and through, but as looking at the situation as objectively as possible, again, it just seems so out of character for Bernie Sanders to say something like that. When you can go back, there's a video from 87 or 88 of him advocating for more women to run for office, to, hold those positions, including the presidency. He was very encouraging of Tulsi Gabbard running. He encouraged Elizabeth Warren in 2015 to run for the 2016 general election. She didn't at the time, so Bernie then stepped in. He's talked about how, Hillary Clinton should actually be the president because she won the popular vote over Donald Trump by 3 million votes. And then, we just have, there's even, like I said earlier, some rumblings that Warren herself was saying that what she was reporting to the media about what Bernie was saying was an embellishment. She's waffled on her support for Medicare for all. She used to claim that she had Native American ancestry when she didn't. She's kind of lied about one of her children attending private school in the past, and there's, those are just kind of the ones that come to mind currently. So just comparing their two track records, I just tend to believe Bernie Sanders in this case. And it seems like Warren and her campaign want this thing to stay in the news cycle to try to tarnish Bernie as much as possible, because this wouldn't have been focused on and dwelled on as much as it is currently if she hadn't went up to Bernie Sanders, not shook his hand, and then accused him of, calling her a liar right after the debate. So there's just there's too many coincidences and bad optics here for me to think that there wasn't some type of coordinated effort by Warren and her campaign to, character assassinate Bernie Sanders in this really, cruel and misfortunate way, because, sexism is a horrible thing, as well as, misogyny, exhibiting misogynist, talk or behavior. But I just don't think Bernie Sanders did that, honestly. So just my thoughts. Would love to share yours about, or I would love to have you share yours about this whole debacle. Who are we more likely to believe here. Again, I laid out the reasons for me supporting Bernie, but if you tend to believe Warren here, I would like to hear your thoughts and some rationale for that. Peace. Much love.